there's no calculator that you can use to underwrite these. There's no one straight, there's nothing. So if you don't take the time to understand all of this, you don't know what to look for.
That line says it all, because sometimes the only way forward is failing forward. And at the Mom's Wealth Club podcast, today's guest is Lizane Colón Mayer. She gets it. And she didn't set out to become an RV park investor, but every burnout, every lesson, and every unexpected turn brought her closer to a business that finally fits. From real estate hustle to campground peace, this episode is packed with wisdom, strategy, and a whole lot of heart. So let's dive in. So I'm super excited because we've got Lizane Colón Mayer with us today, and she is amazing. She's been doing so many things. She's a mom. She's an amazing businesswoman. I will tell you one thing about her is that she gives and gives and gives till there's nothing left to give and doesn't realize she doesn't even have anything left. It's like one of the things that we try to give to her is like try to fill her back up, because she has helped so many people get their first deal, get in the business, figure out what they're going to do. She's kind of like the mama bird in a lot of ways. People come to her, figure things out, and then fly the nest. And it's been really fun because I've known her for, I don't know, a year and a half now. And I've watched all these transitions. And now you've found your space. So you're in the RV park and campground space. And I'm super excited to talk about that as an industry, that as an owner, and how you fell into it and how you're making a business out of it. And just, tell us what's going on over there.
Oh, well, that's quite the introductory. Sometimes I feel like I'm over momming people, but I do like to help people. Oh gosh, how did I fall into this? Oh, let's just jump. How did I fall into this? I'm always surprised that I'm here, or that I didn't get here earlier, but I look back and I could see the road that was paved to get me here, because I had to go through everything that I went through in order to be strong enough and set boundaries strong enough and to have the confidence and everything that I needed to get to this spot. So, I mean, I started like everybody else, just, wholesaling pretty much. I was an agent years ago for a very teeny little itsy bitsy short time. So I had real estate experience. I always wanted to flip houses. It was just like this thing, this just something like, dream. And I kind of like flipped my own house to my ex-husband's despair. But anyway, so that's a whole other story. But yeah, I mean, I went through, I stumbled upon Pace Morby, and I ended up, going up to, he's close to me. So I ended up going up to one of his meetings and meeting him. And then I was going to get my real estate license again, decided not to do it. Once I met Pace, I was like, oh, I don't need it. Like there's so much. Gosh, I just worked really hard. I moved really fast. I think faster than most people, because luckily I'm home. I homeschool my youngest. He has autism, so I'm here, and I was able to sit and just focus and do it. So I just worked super, super hard, and I got a bunch of deals. And then I got into sub two and learned about everything, starting my own wholesaling business, which didn't go great, but gosh, did I learn a ton from that. Pace yelled at me today about that. He was like, it wasn't a failure. You needed to do that. And he was absolutely right. Like I absolutely had to go through everything that I went through to get to where I'm at. I burnt myself out so bad. I worked so hard for so long. And I kept last November, or was it October, that I kept saying, I have to take a couple of weeks off. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to take a couple of weeks off. But I'd be laying in bed. I'd be like, okay, I have to rest, or give myself a break. And still be on my phone. I'm still answering realtors. So I never actually took that break. And by the time December hit, I helped with something called the No One Left Behind Challenge. And we did it locally here in Tucson. Right. So it was just the local people. And I stepped back and I said, I need to take a lesser of a leader position because I'm so exhausted. And I did that. And I mean, it was okay, but by the time that was done, Oh my gosh. Emotionally, I was just wiped out, right? My wholesaling business wasn't going great. I just wasn't great at, I'm not great at being a boss, so it didn't go very well. And I was giving and giving and giving. And I got myself to the point where I just had to stop. So finally I took January off.
I think we touched base right after the holidays. And you were saying at that time, I'm done. I'm not wholesaling. I think I'm going to do something else. I've got to get out of real estate. This isn't for me. I have no energy. I've got nothing left. And I had been seeing that coming for a while. I was really surprised that you even stepped into your role in the No One Left Behind. And I think it was kind of an accident, but it led you to this place that you were so drained by January. I remember that.
Yeah, there was nothing left. I was completely depleted. I had tried, giving back, but I never, and this was my own thing it's crazy because with sub two, you only learn real estate, but you learn about you, right? So in this, whole scenario, I had been learning how to set boundaries, and in my personal life, but it pushed me so hard to go, okay, that's it. Now you have to set these boundaries. And I had to learn from that experience. I learned how to still be able to help people, but set boundaries and also make sure that I'm getting taken care of, which is something else that I would forget. Like I'm not getting paid, right? So that was another, you know, lesson in all of this too. One, I need to be paid for my time because I put a lot of time into people. I need to say no and just push it on, and it's okay to say no and set those boundaries, and then it redirected me to what do I really want to do?
Mhm.
So I knew I didn't want any single family houses. I'm older. I've been through it. I've been raising children for 32 years. I still have a 13-year-old who has autism, and out of a marriage, and that went bad, and I was mom, that whole story. And I knew that I didn't want a bunch of single family houses where I was trying to manage or deal with a bunch of tenants.
Mhm.
And then, doing something to the house. I just don't want that type of responsibility anymore. Um, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And in that No One Left Behind challenge, though, I met a brand new couple that had just joined Sub 2. She was a transaction coordinator here in Tucson, and they approached me early December and said, "Hey, we'd like to work with you." And I was just like, I don't think I can work with anybody anymore right now. I'm wiped out, and I kind of pushed them away and I was like, yeah, we'll see. Um, but in the challenge, like I got to spend time with them and I realized, wow, these are amazing people. Like they're amazing parents. They're just good people. And they have different skills. He's really good. Like we're trying to set up a web page right now and he's actually doing it. And I'm just like, I can't, and he's like, oh, look at it, whatever. So I got to know them more and I realized, yeah, this is somebody I could probably work with, but I was still hesitant because I'd worked with so many people
And we've
and
thought that so many times, right? We're like, this is it. These are the people. This is going to be my good partners. We're going to build a business. I know at one point you even made LLCs with people that are awesome people, but it's really hard to go into business with people,
it
whether they're
really
friends
is.
or people you just met or people you've been friends with for a long time. It doesn't matter the scenario. I can imagine the burnout,
Yeah. Yeah. There were so many people and I
the
was so
hesitation.
burnt out and just so, yeah, I'm not quite sure, type thing. So once I met these people, I saw it. They had been talking about, they were reading, Cody Sanchez's book,
Mhm.
and, Pace had Cody on a few times and they were like, and then we were like, well, how about if we look at businesses here in Tucson? Right. And I had been wanting to maybe do a wedding venue. I was like, so I was kind of looking at wedding venues, possibilities. Um, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. And then we were all talking one night and I was telling them about how I used to have my own RV rental company, and I was telling them how I grew up. I grew up camping like every year. Like we would travel the United States and go camping. Like I camped my whole life, right? They were like, "Oh, we want to rent RVs. Let's do that." So I said, "All right, we'll try it, but we're just going to get a little teardrop that doesn't have a bathroom because people destroy the bathrooms, and you can get see because it's not easy. You can see what it's like." So we got a little teardrop, and we still have that right now. We're actually selling it because we don't have the time to do it, but we have been renting this little teardrop. And then we just, we're looking at different businesses and stuff. And just how the heck did we end up on an RV park? I can't remember the exact conversation or exactly what happened, but maybe it was a wedding venue. I remember somebody mentioning I was looking at a wedding venue and they were like, "Well, are there RV spaces there?" And I'm like, "Why would you have RV spaces at a wedding venue?" Now it makes sense to me, but somehow we ended up on the RV park thing and everybody just went, "What?" you know, this is what we want to do. So we started spending the days just deep diving into RV parks. Like,
So tell me about that. Like, so now you've decided we want to do RV parks. What does it look like? How did you find, and you probably didn't end up with the first property that you saw. So what was that journey like from the moment of not knowing anything about them, but maybe that's it, to where you are now?
so I remember I don't think like most people think. So everybody's going to Crexy and LoopNet, and looking at parks there. And I ended up like laying in bed on Zillow and going through like each state and putting in certain criteria. We had thought at first, well, we want to park with 50 sites minimum, because I think somebody else had said 50 sites. And we were like, okay, we'll look at that. And, we found a few that had like 50 sites and 15 acres or 10 acres, and they were like, okay, well, we need some land, to expand on. We didn't really know what we were doing, but I got on Zillow and I started deep diving on Zillow, and I found so many parks on Zillow. Right. So then the next hurdle for me was calling these commercial brokers. I was like, how do you talk to a commercial broker? I don't know why I was so intimidated. I was so intimidated. I'm like, I have no idea what to say. These guys are professionals. And, I was like, oh, what do I do? And I figured out, just call and say, hey, and I found out they need a non-disclosure. Right. So I would start calling and being, hey, I need a non-disclosure agreement so I can get the P&Ls, the profit and loss statements, which I didn't really understand what they were. And all of a sudden the brokers all were like, oh, she's a professional. I just started, they were like, yes, of course, we'll get that over to you. What's your email? So it started there. And that was a big revelation into why was I so intimidated by talking to these brokers? It's
You didn't
easy.
know the language, right? So once you figured out that one key point of language, then that started a conversation. Now you don't really need to know it. Now you're in a territory where you can ask questions because you're already perceived as somebody that knows what they're talking about. Like
It's
people don't want
crazy.
to waste their time, right? So now you've got somebody that speaks your language and then they can just show that they know nothing because
Right.
you've got that rapport. So that's brilliant. But you didn't do that until you got in and made a mess. And I'm sure you made a lot of phone calls.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm pretty honest. When I don't know something, I'll call somebody and be like, hey, I have no idea what to ask for. I'm trying to get into this space. What do I do? That might have been how I found out.
Yeah, and that's honest, but then so that's what helped you make those first phone calls, but then you're also opening the door for not being taken seriously. But you were like, who cares? And this is the step that people need to realize. You don't have to fake that you know what you're doing. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing wholesaling or trying to sell $1 million paintings. It's for somebody else. It's you have to figure out what the industry terminology is, and then what your comfort is, just to get your foot in the door. And a lot of people don't even go through that first set of failure. And it's not failure because it's failing forward or whatever, finding.
Right.
So you did it. You started, I don't know anything, to, oh, yes, I need a P&L.
Yeah, it's so
I love
insane.
it.
It's so weird how you psych yourself out thinking, oh, I'm gonna look like an idiot or I have no idea what to say. But as soon as you open that door, you run into people that are not kind and they don't want to help you. But there's so many more people that do want to help. They as soon as you give somebody an opportunity to help, they love it, right? And it helps them to feel good about themselves as well. So yeah, as long as you just go in and you're honest and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you help me get to that next step to help? So yeah, that the first step was the brokerage. And then we realized, okay, we have these P&Ls. We don't know how to underwrite them, you know? And Luis had gone through and in sub two, Bo has that training for underwriting. So Luis was certified in underwriting, but there was no class or anything for underwriting RV parks, right? So then we're going through this and we're realizing this, like, we don't know even what to really look for. So we started looking for an underwriter. We brought somebody on, but they were doing 50 things and we could never really get in touch with them. And then, we would go in these underwriting Zooms but nobody really taught you what to look for so we kind of, started just talking to different people. And we came across a couple who, like us, had started from ground zero. And they walked through their entire journey of purchasing this one RV park in Texas. And they would do lives on Instagram, the Bates. So Erica and Jason Bates, amazing human beings, reached out to them and they have helped us so much, so much. But they helped us. She would get on Zooms with us, like the biggest hearts, and they're trying to open this RV park and they're getting on Zooms with us, helping us, right? Amazing people. So they helped us a lot. And then, after just trying to find like an underwriter or whatever, we ended up joining Heather Blankenship's RV boot camp. Mind blown. Okay. Her curriculum in that is excellent. Again, there was an underwriting Zoom. At that point, it's funny because I was like, I can't do underwriting. Jessica was going to do the underwriting. She's very mindset. And I'm the visionary crazy out there doing stuff, talking to everybody. So she was just going to do it. So she watched the underwriting Zoom and she figured it out. But then we would sit together, and underwrite all these parks. And then as we're doing it, we were like, oh, we need to ask this. We need to look for that. We need to, so we taught ourselves, pretty much figured it out, with the help here and help there and putting it all together to where now we can get in and underwrite something like that, like we know exactly what to look for. It's fun. And yeah, we do it together, but yeah, it was step by step. And then we started just leaning towards, because there's so many different kinds of RV parks that you could also buy. There's like the overnight ones, people call transient ones. It's on the side of the highway. So you're driving to the highway and you're wiped out and you need to stop and sleep, right? And there's those. There's ones that they call man camp RV parks. And I use the example of a friend of ours works at nuclear power plants. And he looks for those. He was really interested in those by a nuclear power plant, because he would have to travel from nuclear power plant to nuclear power plant.
So a man camp is like down by gas and oil, or maybe in Midland, Texas would be some man camps, or where you just have a whole bunch of workers. They're not all men anymore, probably, but men that come in for like short-term, mid-term rental type
3 months, 4 months.
There. Yeah. Okay. So we've got transient, we've got man camp, and then
the side of the road highway transient, man camp. You have RV parks are a similar model to mobile home parks, but everybody owns their RV for the most part.
So they're renting the space. It's longer term rental.
It's long term. They live there pretty much, at full time, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have like something that's kind of in the middle where it's seasonal, where, for instance, the park we're buying in New York, there's a bunch of seasonal people that come for the summer. So they're there the whole summer, but then they go, and often they just leave their RV at our park, right?
Would
So
they stay on that pad, or do you put them in storage, or do they rent it?
depends on the park. Some
Oh,
parks have storage or they have an area where they pull everything to the side, and some don't. We don't because we're closed in the winter, so and it doesn't matter, and they're responsible for their site. So they have to mow it. They are fully responsible for that area. So they can leave it. We're okay with that, it's a little more expensive, whatever, but you charge for that too, right? So then you have that, and then you have ours is a combo, the family campground, right? Where people come for the weekend, or it's vacation, it's the summer, they pack up the kids, they're going to go camping for 4 days, 5 days, 2 days, whatever. And then, so it's the family campground as well. And then you have destination campgrounds, which are kind of like family campgrounds, but they're close to someplace that has all these attractions that everybody wants to go see and go do.
Dollywood or national parks or
Yes.
okay, gotcha.
Yes. So that's also kind of a weird combo too, because it's a campground, but they're going for these destinations. And then there's the campground that is the destination where you have water slides and karaoke and the bar and the restaurant and all this stuff that you provide. So they're going on vacation to your campground for all these provisions.
Wow.
There's so many kinds, it's insane. And this is why there's no calculator that you can use to underwrite these. There's no one straight, there's nothing. So if you don't take the time to understand all of this, you don't know what to look for, right? And then you have all these businesses inside of the campground. You have your ice sales, you have your store sales, your propane, it's a totally separate business. You have, golf cart rentals. There's so much that people go, oh, it's definitely for me, it's one of the most fun industries. And for me, it's great because it's ever changing. And I love change. I love for things to be different, and challenge me all the time. So it provides all of that. And I don't own the campers. I don't have to worry about people messing them up. I'm just like, it's yours. Here's the spot. Don't mess up my spot. But yeah, so oh gosh, I don't even know where
When people are coming to your campgrounds, they're paying before they get there. So you're not collecting rent and trying to go through eviction process. It's like you pay or you don't. And when you're not paying,
you're
you're
not
gone.
there. Right. So for me, we are looking at family campgrounds, right? We have some seasonal people, that's what we do. We have the seasonals, and then we have the family people that come in and, enjoy themselves. I'm not ready, and I don't want to provide water slides and restaurants and all of that stuff. I want people to be in nature, and have a fun. I want the kids to go and collect rocks, and then we'll have a rock painting, group in the rec hall, or stuff like that. That's how I grew up. So right now that's what we're looking for, and that's what we're doing. So you have to figure out exactly what you're going to do, but that's how, so yeah, so here we are. It's funny because Lynn, growing up camping, I've even been, I don't know if I ever told you the story. I grew up camping. We used to go to an area called Lake George, where we would go and park the car, and then you would take a boat out to an island to camp on the island in New York. So the island had a ranger station, and it had a water pump. So we would go to the ranger station on this island. We'd hike down to the ranger station, get water from the water pump. Right. And there was nothing else there. We swam in the water. We, played with the rocks or whatever. And one time a hurricane came and hit New York, and we were camping on the island. So I'm like, I know camping. Okay. I know camping. So we were camping, and this is when, oh gosh, I had this big canvas tent in my family. And I remember the winds were blowing so hard, the tent was like round, all blown up. And I had this coat on, and my coat was all filled up with air, and the Coast Guard had to come and get us off the island,
And rescue you.
rescue us from the island. So the Coast Guard came and took all the women and children off. And I remember being
Like
in
the Titanic, the women and children first.
children first. And they had all the kids go into this little cubby area. I don't know what it was, but it was this, we had to lie down in this cubby area in this boat. I don't know what was happening outside. There was a hurricane, but all of us were laying down in this little cubby area in this boat. The women and the moms were out, but all us kids, they put in this little cubby area to keep us safe, left the men on the island. My dad told me when I got older, back then, everybody was smoking cigarettes. He said, like, all the men ran out of cigarettes and they were running around the island, like trying to pick up they were smoking little
butts.
But, cigarettes.
A little stressed. They just needed their cigarette.
Yeah.
There weren't cell phones. So you guys all they know is they kissed their wives and kids goodbye. Did they make it? Did they just give me a cigarette?
Cigarette. They were all
oh my gosh, it's
crazy. Yeah. So they finally went back and got all the men. But yeah, I've had so many camping experiences. I'm so excited about bringing not hurricanes, but these experiences to other people. It's the most joyful, I think, industry you could be in.
Wow.
Right.
It's beautiful. I love that. And I love that you don't know where you're going, but right now, this is the thing that feeds your soul, right? It's primitive, almost camping, but not like primitive, like on Lake George, but it's just time. And that's the one thing we don't have enough of with our loved ones right now. And just for our own sanity and our own brains, just to turn off. And I'm sure you're going to have internet and all that. Like everybody else, not going to get rid of their phone. But yeah, you have to anymore. But it's as close as we can get without, because most people aren't going to go off grid 100%. So you kind of got to keep your margins up. But that happy medium between going off grid versus having that piece of. So, and then there's things like add-ons. So you've purchased this property. So how do you plan on growing and making money? You've got this RV park, you've got ideas, you get it stabilized and all that. Now, how do you grow from there? What are kind of your initial plans? I know things can change, but what are things that people can do if they're looking?
So again, there's so many different kinds of parks, and all of them are going to be different with what you can do. But you have your basic, things. Have a decent laundry room. A laundry room is a huge business all on its own, especially if you have a man camp one, right? Like if you have a great laundry room and a man camp, you're going to make great money on the laundry room. So laundry room, propane, a great gift shop, food items, golf carts to rent. For us, this park is going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be super easy and then we crash and burn, but the fact of the matter is that I like working with sellers that are retiring, they're tired, I have a tendency to be able to build those good relationships. So the park that we're doing right now, the sellers are, they're 78 years old, they're exhausted, and it's 150 spaces, and they're only using a small percentage of seasonal spaces each year because they're exhausted. They don't want to market and have people coming every night. They don't want to have to clean up after anybody. They're, the seasonal people take care of their own sites. All they want to do right now is mow the lawns, and sit in the camp store and keep it as simple as they could possibly keep it because they're exhausted. So for us to come in, we already have the seasonal set up. I'm going to be flying out there to meet everybody soon. right? So I'll go meet all our new seasonals and let them know I'm not gonna like raise the prices like crazy on them, or I'm not a jerk, so to help them feel comfortable for next year. And then for us, it's gonna be easy upfront marketing, right? We want the overnight people. They haven't wanted them. So their occupancy rate right now is under 20%, where right normally you should be, I mean, 65, 70%, right? So if we just bring it up just a teeny little bit, our income is going to go. We ran these numbers at 25% and went, oh my gosh, like we're going to be fine, right? So for us, it's increasing the occupancy, getting the overnight people to come back in. We have a couple of cabins that we're going to look at to put on site. And see how those rent. I have a feeling it's going to go great. We can rent those for so much more. The gift shop, again, they're exhausted. They haven't done anything. They don't want to do anything. So the gift shop, we're going to get all kinds of really fun stuff. We're looking at fixing the laundry room because it's in a really old beat up building. So that needs to be fixed. But up front, and this is the cool one. We're going to start with 3 sites that have a dog gate, but not, how when you go camping, you bring the dog, you bring your little portable, dog thing, right? And the dog stays in their area, or you can kind of make a little area with it, right? Outside your door, but it's small. So what we're doing is we're taking these 3 sites and we're putting a large fence. Our park has a ton of room between spaces. It's 62 acres. So these people have a really big space. So we're putting a large fence, and inside that, it's going to be like a backyard almost. Inside that area, we're going to have a cover. We're going to have an upgraded fire pit. So it'll have a nice table. It'll have everything. So when they get there and they put their RV, we're going to be able to put the RV up against this fenced area, maybe not. We have to figure out exactly how that's going to work, but they're going to be able to hang out with the dog at the fire pit when they're barbecuing, when they're sitting outside. There's going to be enough room to where, everybody can hang out.
Is it their own space, or will there be dogs together?
No, this is their space for their RV site. So we're going to start with 3 of those and see how they rent. That of course they're going to be premium, right? And they're going to be premium. Like we're going to make them nice with the nice covers and everything, so yeah, so that's a plan right now to test that water and see how it goes. We have found there was a KOA that I found that has that, and it's like the reviews for that site are, through the roof. People absolutely love it because you're not separating out your family member, right? Your family member then becomes part of your camping trip. They're not having to be, in the little teeny area, or you're not having to squeeze everything in this little area. You have the whole front yard or side yard, and the whole family's there. So,
oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That's going to be the fun part about it too. Like getting that, so you get it stabilized, and then you can add a few extra things, and then you just dream. Like we have 62 acres. Like what can we do
oh my gosh,
that people will want, and that we can make money, but the visionary part of that, like that's exciting. And
it is
it seems
exciting.
like ever since I've known you, you and I, we're dreamers, right? We think of big plans, and you just haven't had a vehicle. This is finally your vehicle now to plant those dreams and watch them grow. And it's, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. So, so excited. So we started out the conversation with how draining it was because you were, helping so many people in a space that you weren't even really having a lot of traction and a success, and it wasn't your passion. And so now you're going to be stepping into maybe a community where people can get some help from you, but of course, it's not just going to be bleeding you dry, right? And then there'll be a community within there that they can bounce ideas off and all that. So what's your vision for something like that? This community that you're going to be building?
Yeah, we're still working on trying to figure that out because we want to be able to give the one-on-one help that people need. But again, we're acquiring our own stuff right now, and we're gonna have to be, I'm gonna be there next summer running it. So we have to, we don't want to leave people hanging either. So it's gonna, I think it's gonna be a work in progress. I mean, it is gonna be a paid community. It's not, I mean, we're talking $25 a month, really low. But we definitely know right now that we're gonna have Sunday night Zooms every Sunday night. I'll be doing a community Zoom to just discussion of acquisitions, building, just more open discussion. And then on Thursday nights, we'll be doing an underwriting Zoom to help people learn how to underwrite, right? So we're going to give them the education and the discussions in a group format. And then if somebody needs something more direct, or they're like, we just don't get it, or can you do it for us? That will be separate, and that will definitely be paid more because it's so time consuming. So, but we're going to give everybody an opportunity to learn what we learned, what we've learned ourselves.
And then here's another thing too. If you're documenting everything that you're doing right here, that's ready-made content, ready-made course, and then contracts and all that's very, very expensive to come up with. So I don't know if you're in the place where you'd ever be contracts, but I know that sometimes at a premium, that's not a $25 a month, but that's the kind of way that you can grow as you grow and bring people along. And
again, the question is, what direction are we going to be taking too? Are we going to be able to continue this? We could do it right now for a little bit. So, but if we decide that we want to, acquire 7 parks, are we going to be able to continue this community? But I still want to give back. So there's a lot of unknowns ahead of us still, but you and me, we've discussed this, we know that we want to help people and actually really give them the help that they need, and it's hard for people because once people hit a certain point and they're running their businesses, it's so time consuming that it's hard for them. So yeah, we're trying to figure it out. We'll see what happens.
And it becomes, when you get so big in your business, some people either go with a route of where they're only the guru, right? And then some people go the route where they pass the baton to somebody else to help bring up that next generation. But either way, one thing that I know, it's going to be exciting to watch you. I know what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to follow your journey, learn what you're learning?
I'm old, so I'm going to say Facebook. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm always posting what's going on, what I'm going to be doing. If I'm having a Zoom, the community will be posted there. If we're having a meetup, everything. So
perfect.
I have Instagram as well, but I respond to messages more on Facebook than I do on Instagram. So it's just, again, it's a more general platform that is easier for me to post what's happening,
Perfect. So we'll put your Facebook handle in the show notes in the description.
Yeah.
And it'll be there for people to grab it and come follow you and learn what you're doing and watch the journey. It's so fun. It's so fun. And I can tell how excited you are about it, because I know we've been through ups and downs and ups and downs, and this is like legit awesome to watch. So thanks so much for your time today. And I'm excited to see how this pans out and where we're going to be in another year and a half.
We'll do this again in a year or 2 years and then be like, oh, I have 17 parts. No, but it'll be interesting.
It is. Once you figure out, it's like making a snowball. It's kind of hard to just get that first thing, but once you get it, it moves. So that's, the momentum of it. So it's awesome. So thanks for your time, and people can catch up with you by grabbing your information in the description.
Yes.
We'll go from there.
And click and like. Follow.
What a ride. From burnout to boundaries, from house flipping to campfire dreams, Lizane didn't just pivot her career. She redesigned her life around joy, purpose, and possibility. So if you've ever felt stuck, stretched too thin, or unsure where you're going next, let this conversation be a reminder that it's never too late to create something new, something that just fits you better. And if RV park investing sparks your interest, follow Lizane's journey because she's just getting started. Until next time, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and a wise woman will prosper. So buy that field, plant that vineyard, and watch it multiply.